Nick Fuentes is a late night entertainer. And the greatest contribution that he has made is when he sort of took ownership of the Groyper movement when it came into being, and he gave voice to them on his channel, and they were going out and demonstrating that the conservative content creator leadership were not actually the legitimate leadership for conservative rank and file, patriotic rank and file people. Now, that is something that absolutely has to be done, but I think they went about it largely in the wrong way, in my opinion, because they were doing things like just making the deepest, funniest joke they could make, throwing in things about Israel and things like that. And I don't see that as helpful to our people here in America. But I do, satirizing Republican leaders and conservative leaders, that's what we should be doing politically to change what they are angling at. But it should always be with the intent to get them to say Western kind, white race, we're going to defend white people. White people should not be victimized. That's what all of the satirizing and mocking of these people, that's what it should all be angled at. And then you can actually prevent them from getting elected. You're not going to be able to prevent a politician, a Republican politician, even these dissident Republican politicians, dissident under the Donald Trump umbrella, you're not going to be able to prevent them from getting elected by saying, you support Israel? You want to do something for Israel? You're just not going to be able to do that. White people in America, they're going to say, so what? The vast, vast majority. It's not a big enough number that are going to care. You can even say to the vast, white electorate that this is supposed to be America first, not Israel first. And they really don't see a distinction. They're going to say, well, so what? That's our valiant little ally or whatever. So, but what they will understand is that the politician that they are thinking about voting for doesn't care about white people. If you can corner these people, mock them, ridicule them, get them with legitimate questions, straightforward questions, to say that they're not concerned about white people. They're not going to defend the interests of white people. They're not even going to say white race without saying all of these other races. And I just do for everybody. When, you know that they're going to say, well, they'll do this for blacks and this for Hispanics and this for Asians and this, then you can convince enough white people to not vote for a Republican politician. And as a consequence, they lose. So that's the only leverage we have. That's the only leverage. And that's what we need to work at. So if that Groyper movement, which now they fondly look back on as the Groyper Wars, when dissident conservatives or patriots went out and relentlessly mocked establishment, Con Inc. leadership, Charlie Kirk and folks like this, when they did that, and then Fuentes got in on it, it was helpful, but it would have been infinitely more productive if it would have been less focused on who can tell the biggest burn, who can make the biggest burn, and who can, this is valueless. And instead focused on cornering these people, making them say white race, making them say they will defend the white race. Like I just sent out a gab and a tweet that was absolutely hidden under 7 layers of hell by the anti-whites at Twitter, where I tagged several of these dissident Republicans under the Trump umbrella, because they're talking about ending foreign aid and ending immigration. That won't do anything for white America. And so I said, well, if you're going to even think about that, you need to talk about criminalizing anti-whiteism. when will one of these politicians talk about criminalizing anti-whiteism? If it can be criminal in states across the United States to criticize Israel, then surely it should be criminal to inflict injury on Western kind, our children, our adult straight white males. I mean, this is what they should talk about. And if they don't talk about it, then their constituency should know they don't care about white people. You can look at Trump's loss in this presidential election, and you can say all you want about what the Democrat voters might have been up to. But there's no denying that a significant percentage of white males specifically decided not to vote for Trump in the second election. And they decided not to vote for him because he was clearly signaling, don't care about you. I've got this platinum plan for blacks. I'm going to do this for women. I'm going to do that for Hispanics. I mean, he totally blew it. After doing all this deceptive dog whistling about what he was going to do for the white race, he then did nothing for us. And then talked all about all he was going to do for non-white people. So a significant portion of the electorate, whites, decided no. See, you don't need to control every white vote. You just have to, these elections are so close with Democrats. You just have to control or influence, I should say, a small percentage of white people. And if you convince white people, a small percentage of the electorate of any one of these Republican candidates or office holders running again, you convince them, hey, this is somebody who doesn't care about you. They're going to continue just serving the interests of non-white races. You're going to get the shaft. White people will just stay home. Enough of them will stay home that the Democrat will win. These white people, they want to be in office. And so they'll have to start, initially it will begin with lip service. And then once they give us lip service and then do nothing in office, we will be training the electorate. We will be training the white population so that they begin looking, okay, we got you to say Western kind. We got you to say the interests of white people is relevant. You're going to stand up for us. We've looked over the past so many years. You did nothing for us, so you get no vote. So then they'll have to ratchet it up. They'll pay lip service, and then they'll pay lip service and do a little bit for white people. And then they'll pay lip service and do a little bit more for white people. And if you can keep the pressure like this on these politicians, they would have to do more and more to remain in office. I mean, unfortunately, I'm infinitely smarter than these folks. I'm infinitely more intelligent than Nick Fuentes. He tells jokes. He makes these kids laugh. And there's potential there, a lot of potential there, especially since he made himself a millionaire off these people, to use his platform to celebrate. And this is how it works. And I told people even before, when the Groyper thing was being done, before he was celebrating them, I said, if he starts celebrating these Groypers, and this was not in private conversations, on live streams, if he starts celebrating these people, then they will begin to show up more and more to his channel, because they'll want to see themselves get celebrated by that community. And then he'll have a massive power over what gets celebrated, because what gets shown, what gets talked about on the platform. And I said, if some of you may remember, I do hope that he celebrates that which protects these mostly young men, obviously, their lives, so that they can go on and be productive in their lives and serve white well-being for the totality of their lives, and at the same time is productive for white well-being. Well, that's not what ended up happening. They were a bunch of kids. He was a kid with them. And it was just like, who can get the sickest burn, of Kirk? And so instead of pushing them to talk about, and I'm not saying that there were no instances where Groypers or people calling themselves Groypers forced any of these, I don't know if there was a case, forced any of these conning folks to say, no, we don't care about the white race. Doesn't really matter what happens to them. There's no threat to the white race. Any of these sort of dismissing comments be very damaging to these dissident politicians. What I saw were things like folks going up there and using like a little word game to get them to celebrate things like dancing Israelis, and then they all have a nice little laugh and they go back, and then the kid's name is remembered for all time who did that. And so maybe hopefully he'll be fine. It'll probably be fine, but who knows? Especially with the things that they're starting to do. I mean, one of these 87,000 armed IRS agents going to end up at that guy's house and then decide that he needs to be audited and maybe have property taken away, personal property taken away. You have to think when you are a leader of men, a leader of people, you have to always be considering what your influence does to their lives. That's how you know a real or true leader. So it's most unfortunate that there are so many loyal people to Nick Fuentes when he hasn't demonstrated that he cares about his audience, his followers. He should have said to them, in my opinion, he should have said to them, no, don't go say something like X, Y, or Z. That's just going to ruin your life, and I'm not going to highlight you on this channel. But if you say these other things, then we'll all have, we'll celebrate you. We'll put your name up. We'll, he could have even had folks on for interviews. I don't know if he does that, but he could have celebrated the people who were being effective in a way that would maybe not prevent them from being attacked, but certainly not expose them to life-ruining statements at the college level. You can't go back and say at the college level, and today, I mean, even with anti-whiteism as severe as it's getting, you're not even going to be able to disavow what you said in high school. If you go to high school and you say something that's a super sick burn about maybe a certain group of people needing to be killed or something like that, you're not living that down. That's recorded and that's known. That's going to follow you everywhere in life. And I would not want my influence on some young man to cause him to end up living a life like that. So it's a real selfishness that he is demonstrating by doing that. It's a total inconsideration, indifference to the outcomes of the lives of these really real lives. They gotta live their life. They gotta be in that skin suit for the totality. And the funny thing about life is that you're not getting out of it alive. You're going to have to live with that forever until it's over in an anti-white world, the one in which we live. And don't go giving me this thing about, well, there got to be sacrifices made. I know that's such a mid-wit take. Of course there have to be sacrifices. There needs to be intelligent sacrifices made. It's like you got the machine gun nest out in front of you. And what do? Does everybody stand up and march toward the machine gun nest because that's the way warfare used to be conducted? Is that what you do? Or do you have some crossfire on the machine gun nest to distract, and maybe you run somebody like an Audie Murphy around or something like this? Then he can come in from behind it, throw a grenade into the shooting port. I mean, so there are going to be risks, and we're going to have to take them, and we need to be as intelligent about those risks as possible. And these things need to be said. They need to be said, even if next to no one will be here hearing them. I need to be able to look myself in the mirror and know that I did the right thing as a man of the West. And even if there are 500 times that many folks giggling and snarking over there and watching him, it doesn't make that behavior and that handling of the lives of the people who are looking to you, people who refer to him as God, and some of these people, I don't know, they must be damaged. They'll say like it's Jesus Christ and Nick Fuentes. I mean, that's not a joke for some of these people. You see the things they write. If you had people that were that, I would be encouraging folks to stand on their own 2 feet. That's a dangerous scenario. And for what? For an entertainer who is mesmerized by the news and spends a massive amount of time reading and watching the news, and then just giving you his thought on the news with a couple of various what he will refer to as edgy statements to make audience laugh and to get anti-whites to talk about. Then this is all about the self-aggrandizement, which is, I mean, haven't we learned in the white sympathetic sphere about self-aggrandizers? Haven't we learned about that yet? People can't pick shit. People just can't. They can't pick a leader. Come on. They can't pick shit. People who self-aggrandize, people who are worried about the all attention being on them. You think of the Heimbach, and it's now sort of semi-named after him, the Heimbach maneuver, which I warned people after I met this guy for many years. Some of you out there did the same if you had met him. But this guy's eventually going to go anti-white. Once he runs out the game as a white sympathetic of various varieties, he was just going to flip to continue having the attention on him. Said the same thing about Spencer. There have been many like this. And everybody disagreed. No. Even though, he puts himself first and he just wants all this attention, even though he doesn't care about the lives of the people who follow him, I would never do it because he still cares about the white race. Really? So maybe we should keep, it won't matter. I was like, we should keep this on. We should keep this video so that in the future, if Fuentes pulls the Heimbach maneuver, and now he's like making friends with all kinds of anti-whites. So, I mean, is this like a heading that direction? I don't know. But my hope for him would be that he would protect the lives of the people who consider him God, and those who consider him something shy of God. He would protect their lives, and then he would do what I was advocating before. He would attempt to influence these candidates. He seems too cozy with them, sycophantically cozy with them. He's got this huge follower base of sycophants, and then he is sycophantic with these dissident politicians, and you can't be that way. I mean, I realize you want them to come to your conference. What do you want? A celebration of you more than you want the well-being of white people? I would rather be the guy that, let's just say Marjorie Taylor Greene, that pressured her and that caused her to fear re-election, not from anti-whites, but from people who care about Western kind, and that she hated as a consequence of that. But I got her to say Western kind, and she's going to stand up for white people. And she sees all of the victimization of white people in America. White people, not Christians, not all this pussy, these proxy positions. No, white people. Christians aren't getting persecuted. If you're non-white Christian, you're non-white Catholic, you can Mormon, you celebrate it. White people. I'd rather be the guy she hates, but gets her to say those things. So I think he needs to not be as cozy with these people and instead put a lot of pressure on them and say to them, hey, Marjorie, thanks for coming to the conference. But if you don't say white people, we're going to start slandering you. We're going to start satirizing and mocking you. We're going to show up to your rallies and we're going to say, we're going to have a bullhorn. We're going to have signs that says, unless Marjorie says she's going to protect white people, she doesn't care about white people. I'd rather you be that guy, because then you would actually be doing something. But again, then she's not going to come to your conference. Then GOSAR, then they won't come to your conference, and you won't be able to stand at the center of a sycophantic army that that thinks you're God, until you get a girlfriend or get caught in bed with a girl. Then they would drop you. So that's a from the heart answer to that question, Jonathan.